Something feels off. You've probably sensed it too. The economy doesn't make sense anymore. Job numbers keep getting revised down, markets rise while real life gets harder, and people are angrier and more divided than ever. Many are calling it the decline of the American empire. Some label it the fourth turning. Others, like Ray Dalio, call it the last phase of the US empire. Whatever we call it, we can all feel that the glue holding society together, faith, family, community, property, is slowly coming apart. Let's start with our attention. We live inside an economic machine that profits from keeping us outraged, anxious, and divided. It's called the algorithm, and it's everywhere, on social media, in news feeds, and even in the way we talk to each other. Fear and anger are the two most profitable emotions in the digital economy. The more divided we are, the more we click. The more we click, the more data companies gather, and the more data they gather, the more power they hold. Neutrality doesn't sell, outrage does. That's why every headline feels like bait, like a magic trick that stops just short of the final note. It leaves you unsettled, triggered, addicted. It's a perversion of economic incentives. Fear equals profit. And after years of this, society splits into two camps, those who can see through it and those who can't. Politics becomes war. Left versus right, neighbor versus neighbor, and the data proves it. America hasn't been this divided in generations. In the 1960s, half of people said they wouldn't mind if their child married across party lines. Today, that number is just 4%. Once your neighbor becomes your enemy, conversation dies. And when conversation dies, civilization cracks. But psychological manipulation alone wouldn't work unless the second piece of the puzzle, the economy, was also broken. For decades, young people were told to chase the American dream, work hard, buy a home, build wealth. But today that dream feels unreachable. A home once cost 3 times the average income, now it's 7. The average first-time homebuyer is nearly 40 years old. We've built a generation of renters, not owners. And ownership is what makes people care about the system. Add open borders, cheap labor, and inflation, and you get a society without roots. People stop believing in their future, so they stop defending the system. Instead, they look for distractions, scrolling, spending, arguing. Debt replaces discipline. We borrow to survive, not to invest, and buy now, pay later becomes the motto of a dying empire. If you study history, you'll see this cycle again and again. Empires rise, they prosper, they overextend, and then they fall. Debt explodes, wealth gaps widen, politics turns poisonous, and trust collapses. Rome debased its currency until it was worthless. The British Empire drowned in war, debt, and handed the global stage to America. Now America faces the same test. Interest payments on US debt are now larger than the defense budget. The dollar is still the world's reserve currency. But every year, that power weakens. To protect itself, the empire builds walls, tariffs, subsidies, regulations, but protectionism rarely saves empires. It only buys time. And while all of this unfolds, the algorithm keeps us fighting. Left versus right, rich versus poor, citizen versus immigrant. So we never look up and see the real game being played. So, where does this leave us? Yes, this moment feels dark, but every fourth turning eventually gives rise to a first turning, a rebirth, a renewal. That begins with individuals who rebuild what's real: family, community, ownership, purpose. We can't control the Federal Reserve, Congress, or the media, but we can control our attention, our spending, and our empathy. Stay informed, stay calm, invest for the long term. Reject economic nihilism, the belief that nothing matters. Because history shows, the world has always been falling apart, and yet life goes on. Empires rise and fall, but people who stay focused on truth, purpose, and real value always come out stronger. If you found this breakdown valuable, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to EconGeoFinance Insights. Here, we look at the world through the lens of economics, incentives, and history, to make sense of the chaos. Stay grounded, stay informed, and remember, every ending is just the start of a new beginning.